Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CFO show, the podcast that we release weekly. A huge welcome to Chen, who is actually around the corner from me and is the CFO of UberCarshare. So, huge welcome, Chen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll just quickly introduce myself. My
Yeah,
name's
sounds great.
Chen. I am the CFO of UberCarsHare, previously known as Car Next Door. I've been with the business for about 7, maybe 8 years. It's so long that I struggle to remember. And It's been a whirlwind ride. We started very small. I joined very early on, probably 2, 3 years in the
Mhm.
startup, and we were making, I don't know, $10,000 of revenue. Now, 7 years on, we're making millions of dollars, and so it's been a
Mhm.
been a bit of excitement in the space. And yeah, I've um, come from I guess a tax background,
Yeah,
accounting background, and yeah, joined the startup world very probably 5, 6 years in, and yeah, the here we are.
fun fact, we were actually at College of Law together at the same time, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I know.
Wow, that was a long time ago. I actually recently I saw my hex number, and I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, why is it so high?" And then I remembered I did
I
College of
guess, yeah.
Law, completely pivoted from that kind of world.
Yeah. Yeah, so 7 years at Uber car sharing. I believe startup years are a bit like doggy years. So like, 7 years is probably like 40 years in a corporate career.
Oh, it
So
is. You're dealing with so
congratulations.
many fires, so many different things going on. It just, yeah, it feels like a long time. Even now, like a whole month has disappeared, and it felt like half a year's gone by. So yeah,
Yeah.
I I cannot deny what you've just said. It does move very quickly.
Um, well, I'm interested because I was having a little bit of a stalk. And, apart from when you were filming some shows in Beijing and you were a librarian for the high use collection at the UNSW library. I believe you got your first major gig at Grant Thornton. So, what was your role there?
At Grant Thornton, I was in the private advisory arm, and so
Mhm.
I was helping, I guess, people, make more money and also help them with their tax affairs. So primarily focused on small, medium-sized businesses and helping them grow and make sure that they're compliant and
Mm.
all those fun things of increasing their net wealth and things like that. So yeah, so crazy that you mentioned, Beijing and the librarian thing. I've always had an idea that you should try as many different careers as possible and see if you enjoy it. Same thing with food. You don't want to say no just in case, what if it's that thing that you love for the rest of your life, but you said, no, I don't want to try this because it looks weird, or it has a different or weird color. So yeah, that's a bit of my background where I wanted to try a whole bunch of different things.
Well, I love that, and I'm kind of not surprised, I guess, looking at your background. I mean, you're a lawyer and an accountant as well. So I guess that sort of aligns with your life thesis. Um, and so you went from Grant Thornton. Was that straight into Uber car share, or
Yeah,
what was
so I
next?
guess during Grant Thornton, I was like, I think I was about 3 years in, and I said to myself, I've always wanted to, I guess, start a business myself and become more involved in the making a difference, right? And when I
Mhm.
was at Grant Thornton, I was more helping other people, grow their net wealth. And yes,
Mm.
when you're young, you need to expose yourself to different experiences and increase your own utility and actually be good at something. And so I felt like I learned a lot. And I asked my boss,
Mm.
I'm probably looking for something different and learn a little bit more. And so my boss recommended me to apply for Uber Car Share as a side gig. And I
Oh,
thought,
wow.
wow, okay, this is quite unique. I mean, my boss saying that, but
Yeah.
I did do that. And I absolutely loved what they did, right? They
Mm.
are helping to change the world from the one person, one car mentality, reducing carbon emissions. And at that stage, I didn't know how to, I guess, have my footprint in the world and improve the things that I want to do. If you're going to work 40 hours a week, why not work for a company that makes money and also helps the world? And so it
Mm,
was actually quite a perfect fit for me to join UberCarsHare at that stage. And
mm,
so for me, once I learned what I was doing, there, it was a natural fit, and I just jumped over. No
mm.
regrets.
And has your role changed significantly through, I guess, the evolution of the company?
Oh, absolutely. When we were much smaller, like I said, we were making hundreds of thousands of revenue. And also being a startup, being,
Mm,
bootstrapped and cash strapped and all of those fun things. I guess when we're smaller, it was worrying about two things. One is cash. Cash is king. If you run out, as an accountant in a startup, if you mess up your projections or anything like that, people could lose their jobs, right? That's
mm,
their livelihoods, and they'll have to find other things to do. So you never want to mess up any of those cash projections, and cash
mm.
was the main focus. And the second thing is processes, right?
Yeah.
The problem with small business trying to become medium and large businesses is that they don't have stringent processes. You go to Commonwealth Bank, they have processes for annual leave, when you can do this and that. Everything's in paper. In a
Yeah.
startup, it's mayhem, absolutely mayhem. Like everything is, oh, you just figure out on the fly kind of thing. And so you obviously can't do that when you're making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of business. You need
Mm,
structure and regimen. And so I guess now that we've transitioned to Uber and Uber car share, the role is not about cash anymore. They actually have, as I understand it, I don't get to access all of it, all of its books. They have a lot more cash. I don't need to worry about that. I don't have to worry
yeah.
about if we're going to lose our job because we don't have enough cash in the bank. But it's
Mm,
more about structuring and regimented processes. How do we make our decision? And so guiding the team to make sure that they're
mhm,
making the right decisions. So that's
mhm.
how it's changed.
And do you work closely with, people in your go-to-market team, or who do you sort of work alongside now?
So I sit on the executive team, and all of the major heads of departments are there. So the
Mhm,
CEO, the COO, CTO, we have a chief product officer, head of people and culture as well. I work very closely with them every day. We meet every week, and whenever there are decisions, we are closely aligned and making sure
mm,
that we are, I guess, all thrusting in the same direction of the company's objectives for the
mm,
year and the future years as well. And so we have to be very close knit. It really helps that we've worked together for many, many years already.
mm,
And so we communicate really well, and also, we keep each other informed and keep each other accountable as well.
mm. What did you find as sort of the biggest challenge when you moved from working in a corporate into working in tech?
Oh, good question. Corporate, I find, has a lot of structure. You get told, these are your clients, these are the problems, these are the tasks. And in tech or startups in general, it's like, well, look, we're generally heading in this direction. We think it's the right move. Can you help
Mm,
us get there? And there is no, telling us where to go or what to do. It's figure it out yourself and do the
mm,
best that you can. And so not having that very rigidity in your day-to-day work can be a little bit jarring. And also, CarShare has always been work from home. So we've been working from home for about 7 years.
mm,
Our two co-founders, one was in Adelaide and one was in Berry. Will comes in once in a while into the actually every week, but Dave doesn't come in very often. So working from home was also quite jarring, where
mm,
in the previous corporate jobs, it's 9 to 5, 1 hour lunch, come in a suit. Now it's like, a Zoom meeting. Well, we didn't have Zoom actually. We used Google Meet and all the old school stuff. And yeah, it was quite different trying to get used to that, not having to wake up, before, get ready and get to work at 9. It was a lot more flexible.
mm,
So you have to adapt to it. People love the idea of working from home, but I've talked
mm,
about this too much in this podcast already. But structure, right? You need to build a bit of
mm.
structure in your own life to make that work.
Yeah. A question I often like to ask the people that join the show, if you can, what's your biggest mistake you've ever made?
Oh, I honestly, I make plenty of mistakes. Are you talking about personal mistakes or like work mistakes?
Probably keep it to work.
For work, I mean, monetary, I can just think of monetary wise. For the size that we were, I can say that when I was doing a financial model for CarShare back in the day, I probably made $1 million cash flow error where I double counted wages or something like that, and that didn't bode well because we were capital raising at that time as well, and so
Mm.
it was very stressful knowing that you made the mistake, and yeah, it was very uncomfortable. But looking
Was it
back.
picked up?
Oh yeah, it was picked up. It was picked up. Yeah, it was picked up. But it's never nice having to tell your boss you made $1 million error when
Yeah.
you're probably only making a few $1 million of revenue. But looking back, these mistakes are what define you, and you learn from them, and you make less, and you realize it probably wasn't a big deal. But at the time, you thought it was the end of your career kind of thing. So.
Yeah. And what about the capital raising? How did you find that process? Were you heavily involved all the way through? And, did your background assist you with that, or was there a lot of like learning on the job as well?
I did a lot of learning on the job, and
Mhm.
I think I was a support person while we were capital raising. Our
Mhm.
co-founder Will, he's very good at that, and he led most of those processes. But I think
Mhm.
that's what I would have liked. Like capital raising is two parts. One is like sales, and one is like the numbers. And you if you try and do good in both, you kind of struggle because there's a lot to do, right? You're trying to sell and also making sure that the numbers are
Mhm.
firm and reliable. And so for me, I lent on my strengths, and I dealt with a lot of the numbers and the modeling
Mhm.
and making sure that, they were stress tested. And so I think while I was support, I learned a lot during that process, and it was kind of trial by fire at that
Mhm.
stage. Yeah.
And do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to move out of their corporate life or their high use librarian role and looking into join a tech company or a startup?
Look, do it now. I mean, there's no regrets. We're living in a world where life is so short. And if you're slaving away, I'm sorry for all of those corporate people out there still in their jobs. I don't want to, make fun of anything that you're doing. Very valuable work. But if you are ever thinking of doing something different, now is the time. Like there is no better time. There's a lot of support. There's a growing ecosystem here, and I think you will turn back and you'll think, why didn't I do this sooner? So the only advice I have is if you're thinking about it, you should probably do it.
I like that. Wise words. And the other piece of advice is even if you make $1 million mistake, it's probably going to be fine. Uber will probably
It's
buy you
fine. I'm
anyway.
still here. uh,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. And I'd
Thank,
also like to thank our sponsor, Wheel, Australia's leading spend management solution. Everyone, have a wonderful evening, day, morning, whenever you may be listening to this. And we'll speak to you soon on the CFO show. See you later,
thank you.
Chen.
Thank you.